Hi.
Greet.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello. Greetings and welcome to the Games Job Fair Spring 2023 panel on smooth relocation of international talent. So, as the title suggests, we'll be talking about what goes into smoothly relocating international games industry professionals, what challenges there may be, and what solutions we've found. And just to clarify, by relocation, we mean moving from one country to another and establishing one's new home there. So the focus is on long term or permanent transfers and moves here. And we'll be hearing viewpoints and experiences from three industry experts from three different European game studios. And we'll be addressing issues that are of interest to both international talent who might be considering moving or have already moved, as well as studios who are working with international recruitment or who might just be embarking on their global talent journey. And my name is Isa Varpenius. I'm the Business Development Director at Finland Relocation Services. We're Finland's leading relocation, immigration, and global mobility services provider. And we've been relocating talent to Finland since 1994. And Finnish game studios have been a major part of our operations from the very first years to this day. But that's enough about me. And as you might have figured out, I'm just the moderator here. And we have three veterans of the industry here, Lucas, Marina, and Thor, who are here to share their experiences and wisdom on the subject matter. And if you guys could just introduce yourself shortly, maybe a little bit about your background, what you're currently working on. And if we start with, on my screen, Marina is next to me. So if we start with Marina.
Hello, everyone. Nice to be here and very inspiring and motivating event, I could say. So my name is Marina. I've been working in wargaming for a bit over than 8 years now. I've been in the HR profession for more than 10 years. Um, and my current position, I'm HR business partner for corporate functions in our company, overseeing a population of around 200 people in around 10 different locations across the world, Europe, APAC, USA. Yeah, so that's pretty much it on my experience, and I have a lot of experience across different areas of HR, including recruitment, also experience in relocations from the HR operations and HR business partnering side. So I would be able to share with you some the experience that I have and some tips and best practices, hopefully.
Thanks, Marina. Now if we go to Lucas next.
Okay, well, I'm Lucas Cure from Giant Software, from the company that makes Farming Simulator. I have 26 years of experience in the game development, mostly on the development itself, so not marketing, not publishing, really the person fighting in trenches. In Giants, I worked for the last 5 years, where with the owners of the company, we have founded a studio in Brno in Czech Republic. And I was directly involved in all hirings, and being it from Czech, Slovakia, India, Japan, anywhere from the world. So basically, I have quite a deep understanding about what it takes to relocate people from one country to another, and that's what I would like to do my best to answer. Any other questions, any doubts, or anything which contributes towards this panel? Thor, your turn.
Yeah, thank you. Hi. Yeah, my name is Thor. I have 25 plus years of experience in the, I guess it's the experience industry, the more complex entertainment industries such as events, large-scale events, films, cinema, and then moving over to computer games a few years ago. Um, in my previous job, I was the general manager of a born global company, Directive Games. We had offices in Shanghai, Los Angeles, Reykjavik, and then later in Singapore also. I grew the Icelandic operation from 6 to 40 plus people in 4 years, where we wound up getting foreign talent from China, Australia, America, almost all over the world. And I'm also the chairman of the Icelandic Game Industry Coalition here in Iceland. So I lobby a lot for incentives for foreign experts. And 2 years ago, I co-founded a relocation agency to help people that are moving to Iceland. So I also work a lot with the other gaming companies and tech companies in general here to facilitate the acquisition of foreign experts. I recently went into a new startup or a smaller gaming studio. We are currently 6, and hopefully we will be 20 plus in a year and a half.
All right. Thank you, everyone. So, I mean, obviously, a panel of experts that we have here. You already breached the subject a little bit, but maybe just start with if you tell how common it is for you to hire foreign talent and what is your geographical reach. Now, you already went into this a little bit, so we'll probably can do a quick round. But if we do in the same order, so if Marina, you go first.
If we hire foreign talent, it really depends on what is the need. So what are our recruitment needs in terms of what is the product we're targeting for, what is the position, the skills that we need, and the talent pool, of course, that we target for the specific position. We always have, discussions with the hiring managers to understand the role and the requirements, the location where they want it to be based, whether this role can be remote or not, or hybrid. It really depends, and we try to advise accordingly. We have a dedicated TA team that works with the hiring managers on our recruitment needs. And in terms of the geographical reach, we do have some locations that are a no-go for us due to time zone and maybe some difficult migration rules, but we try to look at also data and in greenhouse recruitment software that we have, and reports through LinkedIn as well, to identify companies where we can attract talent from. And in terms of the locations that we focus, it's usually more on Europe than USA. It can be USA for specific roles. And in terms of APAC region, China can be a bit restrictive sometimes due to data protection rules. And we find that a lot of times locals they're not willing to relocate to Europe. So I think this pretty much covers what our target is in terms of geographical span. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, as for us as Giants, we are not that big company. Our headcount total across all the studios is around 100, and we don't really have like a hiring team. If we like specialists, we have really like the team leaders that are looking for the talent. With me, our person who is assisting with interviews and communication with the candidates. So we are like really having our hands dirty. Is it common to hire foreign talent? Yes, it is, because as soon as you start a new studio, you realize that the talent pool is quite empty because all the other studios have already taken the best talent, and you start to be extending the reach, right? So we had to switch basically after a couple of months when we started the studio, that we also will be looking abroad. And we had a guy relocating from Japan, but he was Canadian. He was living there with his wife. So that's one of the like the eastern side of the globe, if you would look from the center of the Czech Republic, but also from Cuba on the other side. So that's our reach. But of course, majority is coming from European Union. We have a guy from Italy. We have a guy from Serbia. We had a guy from Poland, Switzerland. It does not matter, honestly. It's like if we can get a person over here, it actually shows up that recently we have a problem to get the people from India, but we are trying to be really international. English is our main language we are using in the studio, and we are looking for the talent, which basically we need, and it does not really matter for us if it's from that part of the world. If we can get the person to start working, getting visa, to start working in Czech Republic and Brno, that's what we aim for.
Yeah, in my previous company, we had offices in China, I mean, America, and in Iceland. So it was 8 hours between each office. And to Marina's point, with my current company, where I'm trying to build on my previous learnings and do things in a simpler and better way, We will definitely be looking at locking in the time zones, especially with remote workers. But since we are focusing on relocation, um, we would hire people from anywhere in the world who are willing to migrate to Iceland. Obviously, as Marina also pointed out, it is there is a severe uh, different difficulty stages. People from Philippines, for an example, need to get a letter of approval from their own government. People in China face similar. There are parts of the world is ravaged by war. So we would always prioritize interviews with candidates that is easier for us to bring to the country, but the talent, and especially in some specific specializations, is very scarce in the world. So we are always forced to put on the extra effort for certain roles. Especially in Iceland, we are a very small country, and we need a lot of foreign talent, as our educational system does not deliver us specializations in everything that our industry needs.
Yeah, thank you. And so you all clearly have quite a lot of experience on the recruitment of international talent. How do you see, what are the fundamental differences between when you get to recruit someone from the scarce talent pool that you have domestically compared to recruiting someone internationally? What are the kind of key differences between these two situations? If we could go in reverse order, so talk goes first.
There's a few differences, very important. Number one is, you are less likely to be able to meet this person them in person. Um, this means you cannot, invite the candidate to come to your office, see the facilities, see the culture, the atmosphere. A lot of smiling people, happy people, everyone waving. Oh hi, yeah, I'm the lead technical artist, yada yada yada. So there is that difference, right? Um, when the and then there is a lot of extra conversations. um, Now you need to talk about the intricacies and complexities of the move, right? Do you have a family that needs support? Also, do you have a pet? Do you understand the climate in Iceland? Do you understand that Icelandic nature wants to kill you, right? Everybody thinks Iceland is really beautiful and everyone wants to come here, but if you stay here over a whole winter, are you sure you will not just get really depressed? The culture. Um, Everyone in Iceland speaks English, so that's okay. But you know what I'm getting at there. And then you have to talk about all the intricacies of paperwork. Is this a person that is, has ever moved between countries or even between cities before in their life? Do they understand the differences in international banking? Will they be able to send money home? All of this stuff, all of this information. So it really takes the interview process uh, to a completely different zone where first of all you cannot look people in the eye really and see their body language, etc. And you see this little stage that they put on, and they see myself in the same circumstance. It's more difficult to build up trust and to understand really the core characteristics of each other, right?
So if we are going in a reverse order, I would go next then,
Please.
and I would definitely underline what Thor just said. It's very different. It's very different to person we can invite to the studio, talk to them in person. Typically, if it's someone who is already in that location, he knows, let's say, the habits, the culture, the language, what they can expect from the country, right? If they were growing in there, it's like for them it's no brainer. But for the foreign talent who is relocating, it's very different because that person needs to do their homework. They need to learn. Of course, we are supporting, we are sharing all the knowledge, but they need to learn everything about the climate as well, because it's different in Cuba, it's different in Czech Republic. It's not that close as not that icy as Iceland, but we also have a quite interesting winters, and it's something which people should be taking into consideration because if you live in a country where the spring, summer, autumn, winter means something, it can be something completely different, and it also has an impact on the family, on the hobbies, on how you spend your free time. So it's definitely something you should consider as a foreigner who would like to relocate. And in terms of work permits and all, let's say, the legislations, it's way easier to hire local talent, and that's you cannot really blame a company for like green lighting more or tending towards the local people, because it's way easier for the companies as well to hire someone. For us, like hiring a Czech person, it's one document to the authorities, I think, but like there are two or three which we have to send to different departments. The person needs to go to immigration office, get biometric scans, all this kind of stuff, because let's say it's someone who is being getting into the country, so it's way more different and way more time consuming, and it also requires more resources and more time investment from the studios and from the individuals. Over. Marina, your turn.
From my side, I do voice what the other speakers said on the the differences in terms of online interviews, lack of face-to-face communication, and the challenges of that during the recruitment process. The other thing that I would say it's important in when hiring internationally is really understanding the motivation to relocate during the interviews, which is essentially kind of risk management from the recruiter side. So it's important for them to get a sense from the candidate on what are their feelings on this, provide information that will be useful for them, and it really helps when the recruiters they have a good understanding of the certain markets that we are targeting for. So from our side, we usually try to assign recruiters based on their experience in certain markets, depending on where we want to hire and what are the locations we are targeting for. So I would say that these are my additions in the question. Yeah.
All right, thank you. And maybe just getting back to what Thor and Lucas were especially saying, how much of a difference do you see between an EU candidate and say a third country national in the kind of process in your approach to the recruitment? Is there a difference? Do you see a difference there?
There is a difference because EU is way closer to like local market, right? Because EU is open market, so anyone from Germany can apply to work in Hungary, and so it's not a problem. I think it means like one extra document, but it's not really. The person does not need to ask for visa, wait for permits. There are no bottlenecks in terms of legislation, so it's easier to hire a person from EU than third country.
Yeah, if you are coming to Iceland, we are in the European Economic Area. We're not in the Euro, but everyone from the Eurozone can come and work in Iceland, but that is the bureaucratic process, right? It can be, of course, 1 and 2 documents can be an hour, 2 hours, or maybe 5 hours, even waiting for emails, all of that stuff. But the move itself, right? If you are talking about a individual who is single, living by themselves, is a workaholic like many of us are, just wants to work in the industry, doesn't care where they live, it's simple. But hiring someone from Sweden who has 3 children and a dog, and wants also to bring their mother with them, is much more difficult than bringing a single person from China, right? So it can vary vastly, but this is not the often it's a multifaceted diamond, right? So the complexities can come from many different angles.
Yeah, thanks. And we'll get back to maybe the details of the relocation process, what goes into a little bit later. But we'll so now you recruited your talent, you have your talent, he or she has come over. How is the onboarding process? Is it different for an international hire than a local hire? What kind of things have you noticed that are important that you also take into consideration in the onboarding process?
Do you want me to start, or?
Sure, go ahead.
I think once you've done the paperwork and they've secured a home and all the extra support you give on an organizational level. Um, since Icelandic culture is quite open to foreign nationals. We all speak English here, but it is people don't have a social life when they arrive. So it is sometimes, and it's sometimes difficult to assume the to force the extra responsibility onto other staff, that can you please include this person in your social life, can you please invite them to parties, can we all contribute to make this person feel welcome, right? And I think that is the maybe the hardest part, is on a obviously you need to give people who are moving countries, the autonomy to find themselves and find a new life. But there is also the danger that they just don't integrate, and they become unhappy, and they have no friends and no hobbies, and so it varies vastly between candidates. Some people are really social, outgoing, and while others need help and maybe don't even vocalize their feelings on the subject. So um, yeah, but other than that, it's a person showing up to the office that needs to be part of planning and get with the program, right? Just like any other candidate.
Okay, if I can go next. Tore have skipped the part which he mentioned, legislation, but I think it's actually something where we all need to support the employees that are, let's say, relocating from abroad or from different country. They need to know, I know, basic institutions, how the health system works, social system works. They need to create their bank accounts and all this. If we would not be supporting them, we would not have them, right? So that's something where either a company or a third party which is hired for this process is supporting them to succeed, because this is like the fundamentals for them before they start to be thinking about socials. And that's also, we did not really had a backlash in this stage, but I can totally see that if the company that thinks that they would just hire someone and get the visa for them, that's over. No, it's not. It's just the start of the path, right? And it's still something which you need to support the employee in order to like succeed and start to be thinking about the social life. In terms of the social, let's say, integration, it's I must touching the wood. The team is doing good and like independently, really. Like since we also have quite, let's say, quite a few foreigners in the team already, they naturally know how it is for different person to come to the country. We are organizing welcome dinners for everyone. So it's sometimes it's a lot of dinners. I think we have planned dinners until the end of the year for every single month. But this is where the people can really chat about anything during those dinners, not only work, but like really talked about how to spend their free time, what to do, what are the good places in the location, what they done, what they have good memories about, and it all starts to open the whole, let's say, cloud of unknown for a new person about the country, about what they can do. And getting the team involved is, I would say, also very important. And even without forcing it, it can work without any kind of extra help. It's just like, yeah, people would like to have a successful company, successful team, and naturally they are kind of supporting also the new ones. If we put aside the support that company is giving officially with getting the formalities over. Oh, yeah, all from my side.
To add what my fellow speaker said, I agree on the fact that the challenge really lies on the adaptation. I would say adaptation to the culture, to the country, to the team. The team is very important. Um, and on that side, I mean, what we do from our part, we have dedicated relocation teams, relocation immigration teams, usually in most of our locations, at least the bigger ones, where our experts there, they look at, onboarding these new hires on a holistic, they take a holistic approach. and provide ad hoc support even, before the hiring, during the hiring, and after the hiring, providing all the resources, all this new information that is very new to them. And so it's a constant, following up, keeping in touch, giving a helping hand, actually, and, trying to relieve that stress wherever possible, I would say.
If I can complement and recommend something, sorry, Stor, just was faster. Because I believe we have people looking that are actually willing to relocate for work to different country. One thing to note is that the way how it works in your country is not the way how it works in different country you're going to be relocating. So please ask and get information about it, because you might assume something which is not the case for the target location, and therefore it's always better to communicate, because some people do their homework, study. There is plenty of articles you can find in the countries themselves, because they are typically willing to be open to foreign talent, because it's important for the economy in general. But some don't do the homework and assume, and that's something which it can be very tricky and misleading. Yeah, that's what I would want to say. Thor,
yeah, I just wanted to, add to your point about, with the integration into like getting a SIM card and debit card and finding a lease, and, some things are, something you just do once and you never have to do it again, like get the work visa, the big bureaucratic move, all of that stuff. But I find that it is very important to allow the foreign expert the a little bit of autonomy, and obviously to support them. But it is important that 6 months from now, that if I'm unhappy with my bank, I am, confident enough to ask for advice if I need it, but I can go to another bank and ask for another debit card, right? I don't feel like HR at the company is a bottleneck and I want a different SIM card. I need internet for my home. I want to have TV. I need the HR to help me, and now I have to wait, right? It's also the process of, figuring out what is, something that, you don't need to understand this. I will take care of it for you, right? And what is, I'll help you as much as you need, but it's very good for you to learn about this, and become self-confident about, taking care of yourself here in this country, right? So this is also like a part of the process, right?
Just to add on what Thor just mentioned, I think it's important, at least from the company side. I understand all of the challenges, and the stresses that people are going through, and the millions of questions, they have. So what we try to do a lot of times, is being transparent on, what is the reality, what you should expect, offer as many resources as possible, identify what are the pain points, and the pain points that can really be different from case to case. It doesn't mean that they should be the same, and just be there for providing ad hoc support throughout their employment. I think that's the important thing.
Yeah, so dealing with issues of assistance, but also teaching the type of autonomy that you need to then take care of things yourself in the future. What have you, in your experience, what aspects of the support? So it's a journey starting from the recruitment. You have to communicate, kind of manage your expectations, then immigration, relocation, settling in, finding apartment, so on. Which aspects of these, in your experience, are the most vital, most critical? Are they all roughly equally important? Is it up to the person who is relocating? How, in your experience, like support, which aspect of this is most important?
It vastly depends. I mean, obviously, you need to have your paperwork in order, right? To have the confidence to say, I'm gonna come over. I'm gonna get on a plane, right? You also need a place to sleep. So the housing market in Iceland is quite difficult. So this is something that, in order to have a competitive advantage, right, we try to secure people housing, and help them with at least that first home. Um, this obviously raises the question: if I have another employee who is here local, who is very important to my operation, and they are losing their home, uh, should I also not help them, right? Because I also need them to be comfortable enough to show up to work, and hopefully much more comfortable than that, right? So it is always a question, right? What are the difficulties of just living in your area, and you know how much do you actually want to support your people, and in a competitive market, what is the lowest bar for that, right?
Okay, well, kind of lost myself in the question, but
So
yeah, okay, the stages. Yeah, well, I would say in every single stage of the, let's say, whoring process, it can fail and it can be a breaking point. So I think that they would be equally like important, because the success lies in the end when the person is successfully integrated into the team, into the country, feels safe, starts to be really living his life or her life, what she had before, and even exploring on additional, let's say, opportunities what the location or culture allows. So in that regard, some people are more independent. Some people are those that are fighting their way through, even maybe even to impress the employer that they don't need support. I don't know, but it's totally fine. But they should also not be worried to ask for support. That's what I wanted to say, because in every single stage, as I mentioned before, waiting for visa, even though authorities have like 30 days to respond, we had a cases that 90 days, no problem. No problem, because they are so overhauled that we cannot really, uh, maybe we can, but I never try to do that, sue authority that they have not really followed the rules which they have set for the immigration process. So there are obstacles on the way which are not really influenceable by the employee or the employer, and for some countries it's more difficult, for some less. So it can fail at any point. Bank being with them, not really, because there is a plenty of banks in our European economic area, and if you are not happy with one or another, I don't see this is a deal breaker, but more on the legislation, paperwork, and order, as mentioned, and of course, like the support for anything the person might require. If he's relocating, she's relocating with the family, with the children, with the dog, all the family needs support, right? So it's like you would try to find the way how to resolve that specific issue for the specific case, the person who are locating, and it's important. If you don't, if you fail, there is a higher chance that the candidate fails, and therefore, let's say the whole process ends up in not really having a sufficient result for both sides. Over.
yes, Maria, do you still have something to add?
I would say that it's important to, I think all aspects of daily life, they're equally important. Of course, the migration part, the paperwork and all of that, but also the adaptation, as I said, to to the culture, to the living in the country, it's important. So what we try to do, we try to take a holistic approach, and even personalize a bit wherever possible, and just try to build on their expectations. So what are their challenges, their pain points? So try to build on that, but at the same time make them ready to face any obstacles that may happen in the process. So relieving the admin, kind of bureaucratic burden is really important a lot of times, so they can, focus on their work and their family. So I would say that.
Yeah, thanks. Kind of seizing on what Lucas said about the family. Of course, family plays a key role in a talent's decision to relocate or not to relocate. How do you see those kind of situations, and how do you support the family's relocation and integration? Um,
Um, I mean, it varies. It varies also, right? I think, this is always like we can talk about the intricacies, but it is always a case by case basis, right? I mean, I've been involved with helping a Chinese person who has a French husband move to Iceland. The French husband can just fly over here. Is no problem, right? So the question was, will it be easier for us to get her an expert visa, or should they get married? Because now she can relocate because of her French husband, who is allowed legally to stay in Iceland, right? So that simplified it, possibly, right? But then you might have a person who has a spouse who is a foreign expert, right? Also, that is going to be working for another company. So the question is who will finish their application first, or it might be they have a spouse that is severely ill, they have MS, or some debilitating situation, right, that they need special care. So it is very hard to say that, but that there is no single answer to the question. But sometimes it can be even easier. And if someone is relocating with family and a dog, or another type of pet, you think that they will be more psychologically safe because they have a support network, etc. Or so it can be, it varies greatly. If that answers your question.
A very good answer, honestly. Yeah, it really depends on the candidate and his family situation. Typically, I would say every company is going to look into what it takes to relocate the person, right? So, is he with the family, 3 children, the dog, furniture, shipping through the containers across like the ocean? That's going to cost way more than like one person from China, I would say. So, of course, this is something which the company is doing or the risk assessment in that regard. What everything can go is it worth of like not wasting or not spending money on something which can go wrong. So it's a part of the evolution of the talent. But once it gets started, I think that both sides are committed, and that's very important to clarify the expectations at the beginning. And yeah, well, it's. It varies. It varies. Really, every single person is different. I don't had, in my experience, anyone following the same pattern. Really, it's always there was something different that we had to support or help with. Of course, if there are two friends which are located from one country, we have couple of people locating from Ukraine. They know each other. They afterwards look after each other as well. So it helps if the people know themselves, share references. Hey, I just like joined this company. It's great. Everything worked. I can help you out with that. We've seen that the others that are following the path of the first one are integrating way smoother, are having less obstacles because the team and the friends solve it for them. But if it's single instance from a random area in the world, it really matters on their personal situation, and every company needs to adjust to that.
Marina.
I think it's all about understanding, the peculiarities of each case. So each family, they have their own, focus areas, pain points. So it's all about, identifying what those are and giving emphasis to those, giving resources, information, bringing people together, as Lucas mentioned. So creating that sort of, community feeling. So maybe arranging some gatherings, meets and greets to help people get together, exchange information, thoughts, challenges they might be facing. Um, I think that's important. And for the family, of course, it's all about getting, the spouse, adapting if they don't have a job, give resources where they can look for a job, suggest, outdoor activities, social clubs they could be involved in, and help this integration part run smoothly, I would say.
Right. But I think in summary, we're in agreement. We're talking about the minimum bar of things that you need to do in the industry. Taking care of the family is part of that minimum
Mhm.
bar, is what I'm
So
hearing.
yeah.
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 Exactly. Uh, we are kind of running against the clock here, but so you're all experts. You've seen many relocations. You've recruited many talents internationally. What would be your advice to candidates who are considering relocating to another country, or perhaps to a country where your studio is located? And if we start with Marina this time.
Mhm. To the candidates, I would say relocation is not easy. So don't think it's something, you will pass through in a day or two. So don't be afraid to try new cultures, be open to adapt. We understand, the frustrations that we are going through, but we are here to support you. And also important on their part would be to advise them, be organized from your part wherever you can, to have any documents ready that may be needed, especially the ones that need physical presence to get them. So have those ready from your side. And in terms of the, let's say, their approach, it's basically to remain positive, be curious, ask questions, and feel less stressed. Actually, yeah.
Lucas.
My advice would be like two words, or three actually. Do your homework. And I wanted to stress the fact that even though the company is going to do their best to support you relocating, you need to do your part. You need to I'm speaking right now from my experience because I have relocated for 5 years to Germany and I lived there with the family. And I had to look into the map where the studio was located, and I had to look into what are the, I don't know, menu prices. Even though you received some information you wanted to verify, you wanted to look into what institutions, what places for free activities, for the shops you are interested in are. Is it something where you are seeing yourself like living? You try to integrate, try to imagine life in the country, because like doing the work is one thing, and it's, I would say, 99% same, and every different company environment might be different, processes might be different, but the work is the same. But like, try to imagine yourself living in a country, and one day what you would need, can you find the information? For me it was difficult sometimes to find the information because I was not a German speaker, and sometimes like a lot of things were only in German, so I had to use a lot of Google Translate and do my job in that regard to figure out what is the content of the information I have presented. So be prepared for different language, and is that something which you are happy to learn over time? Because in order to integrate, you have to learn the language, right? And that's something which, even though in Iceland everyone speaks English, I believe that people who at least start to be exploring the language which is local, they would start to be exploring way more out of the culture, way more out of it, and you should put it also on your agenda if you are serious about settling down in the country, because it would make your life difficult speaking only English, because not everyone does. I had the situations where, although the German population in general speaks English like a lot, um, tax office, first visit, you need to get your tax ID, tax number. No one spoke in English there. It was on purpose for sure, but it was very difficult and a hard experience for me. And when I wanted to get insurance for the car, I also needed the German. So be ready for that. These are the things which can happen in any country, that not everyone speaks English. And although English is quite international, be ready for you to be, you need to be open to adapt as well. Otherwise, those people that do not adapt don't last long in that country, honestly.
I I I agree completely with what they said. I think maybe two or three points just quickly because since we're running out of time. Number one is the grass is not always greener on the other side. It is different for sure, and maybe you will love it, but you might also hate it. So, you might get a higher salary, but cost of living might be higher as well. So relatively, your quality of life might be going down. Your buying power. You need to really understand these things. And second, you should be very careful to understand your legal rights. If your visa is conditional on this job, and you are going to work for a small startup, you then lose your job, you might lose your visa, and you might have to vacate the country in a few days, right? So I've had Icelandic people go to America to work for big companies, and then they been laid off right before the 3-month trial period was finished because of institutional changes, and they've moved their whole family, they've taken their kids out of school, gone to America, and then had to come back and find an apartment, and take care of yourself, right? The company is going to take care of itself, but my advice to you is take care of yourself, right? Be responsible for your own safety, right?
Thank you so much. From my side, I want to thank you, Visa, for the excellent hosting. Thank you very much, Thor. Thank you very much, Marina and Lucas, for being with us today. And there are so many questions that came in. So please, I would like you to maybe spend some time. I'm going to go meet the next speaker, but if you can stay a little bit here and answer the questions.
Thank you. No
More than
problem.
welcome to do that.
Thank you.